In a shocking turn of events, a man was convicted of the gruesome murders of 6 people on a remote German farm in 1920, but there's a catch. Despite the conviction, the bodies were never found, and the case remains shrouded in mystery. The farm at Hinterkaifeck was isolated, surrounded by fields and woods. The family lived a simple life, far from the hustle and bustle of city life. But on that fateful night, something went terribly wrong. The suspect, identified as a local man, was convicted based on circumstantial evidence and questionable testimony. But as the trial progressed, inconsistencies in the prosecution's case began to surface. The investigation was botched from the start. No bodies were ever found, and the crime scene was contaminated. The police relied heavily on hearsay and speculation. But one question remained: what really happened on that farm? As the case unfolded, a shocking revelation emerged: the convicted man had an alibi for the time of the alleged murders. A witness came forward, claiming to have seen him miles away from the farm. Was it a case of mistaken identity? Or was something more sinister at play? The more we dig into the Hinterkaifeck case, the more questions arise. What happened to the family? Was the convicted man really guilty? Or was he a pawn in a larger game? And what lies in the darkness of that isolated farm? The Hinterkaifeck case took a shocking turn. The convicted man had an alibi for the time of the alleged murders. But what does this mean for the case? Recent investigations uncovered a hidden diary belonging to the farm's daughter, Victoria. The entries reveal a sense of foreboding and fear, hinting at something sinister lurking in the shadows. But the most chilling part: Victoria writes about a mysterious stranger lurking around the farm weeks before the disappearance. As detectives dug deeper, they discovered that the convicted man was not the only suspect. A local man, Andreas, had a history of violence and was known to have a grudge against the family. Could he have been involved? The diary also revealed a dark family secret: the family was being blackmailed by someone who knew their deepest secrets. But who was behind the blackmail, and what did they want? The investigation took a dark turn when detectives discovered that the farm's isolation was not the only factor that made it a target. The family had been involved in some shady dealings, and it seemed they had many enemies. As the evidence mounts, it becomes clear that the Hinterkaifeck case is more complex than initially thought. The convicted man's alibi, the mysterious stranger, the blackmail. Each new revelation adds to the mystery. What happened to the family? Were they victims of a brutal crime? Or was their disappearance a result of something more sinister? The search for answers continues. But one thing is certain: the truth behind the Hinterkaifeck murders will haunt us forever. But what if the truth is more terrifying than we ever imagined? The investigation is far from over ever. The Hinterkaifeck case took a dark turn. The family was being blackmailed, and the investigation was getting closer to uncovering the truth. But what if the truth is more terrifying than we ever imagined? Detectives discovered a cryptic letter sent to the family, demanding money in exchange for silence. The letter was written in a code, but after weeks of analysis, they finally cracked it. The blackmailer was none other than a family member's own husband. As the investigation dug deeper, they uncovered a web of deceit and betrayal within the family. It seemed that the family's troubles went far beyond a simple blackmail scheme. But what was the husband's motive? The husband's alibi for the night of the disappearance checked out, but detectives discovered a shocking secret: he had been planning to leave the family for another woman. Was the disappearance a desperate attempt to escape his troubles? As detectives continued to investigate, they discovered that the family's farm was not just any ordinary farm. It had a dark history of ritualistic practices and mysterious rituals. Could this be the key to unlocking the mystery? A local resident came forward, revealing that they had seen strange figures lurking around the farm on the night of the disappearance. The figures were dressed in black robes, and they seemed to be performing some sort of ritual. The evidence is mounting. and the case is taking a dark and sinister turn. It seems that the Hinterkaifeck family was caught up in something much larger and more complex than initially thought. The investigation is getting closer to the truth. But one question remains: what happened to the family? Were they victims of a brutal crime? Or were they part of something more sinister? The truth is out there, but will we ever uncover it? The suspense continues at. The Hinterkaifeck case took a sinister turn. Strange figures in black robes were seen performing rituals on the farm. But what does this mean for the case? Detectives discovered that the farm was indeed a hub for a secretive cult, and the family was deeply involved. The cult's leader, a charismatic figure named the Prophet, was known for his twisted teachings and dark rituals. As the investigation dug deeper, they found evidence of mind control and manipulation within the cult. Members were brainwashed into committing heinous acts, and the family was no exception. The Prophet's true identity was revealed. He was a former member of the family, consumed by a thirst for power and revenge. His real name was Jacob, the family's own son, who had been presumed dead years ago. The investigation took a darker turn as detectives discovered human remains on the farm, buried in a secret grave. The remains were those of Jacob's own family members, who had been killed in a twisted sacrifice. The evidence is mounting, and the case is taking a dark and sinister turn. It seems that the Hinterkaifeck family was caught up in a web of deceit, manipulation, and dark rituals. Jacob's motive was not just revenge but also a desire for power. He had been planning this for years, using his own family as pawns in his twisted game. The investigation is closing in on the truth, but one question remains: what happened to the rest of the family? Were they all killed, or did some manage to escape? The truth is hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered. But will it be enough to bring justice to the victims? Or will the truth remain forever shrouded in darkness? As we left off in Part 4, the investigation into the Hinterkaifeck murders took a dark turn. Human remains were found on the farm, and the cult angle seemed more plausible than ever. But what if this was just the tip of the iceberg? Detectives discovered a hidden journal belonging to Jacob, the cult leader. The entries revealed a twisted mind consumed by a desire for power and control. Jacob wrote about his plan to create a new order, with the Hinterkaifeck farm as its hub. The family was just the beginning. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered a network of cult members who had been brainwashed into committing heinous acts. The farm was a front for Jacob's sinister activities, and the family was trapped in a living nightmare. Jacob's motive was not just about power but also revenge. He believed the Gruber family had wronged him in the past, and this was his twisted way of getting back at them. The cult was his tool for achieving this goal. A former cult member came forward, revealing shocking details about Jacob's plan. He described the rituals and human sacrifices that took place on the farm, and how the family was forced to participate. The police found evidence of a secret room on the farm, where Jacob would conduct his twisted rituals. The room was filled with symbols of dark magic, and human remains were found buried beneath the floor. Just as the police thought they had solved the case, a surprising twist emerged. Jacob had an accomplice, someone who had been helping him all along. The accomplice was none other than Maurice Schlittenbauer, the man who discovered the bodies. Schlittenbauer's motive was revealed to be a deep-seated grudge against the Gruber family. He had been seeking revenge for years, and Jacob's plan was the perfect opportunity. The investigation is closing in on the truth, but one question remains: what happened to the other cult members? Were they all involved in the murders, or were some of them innocent? The truth is still shrouded in darkness, and the next revelation could change everything. The investigation into the Hinterkaifeck murders took a shocking turn. Maurice Schlittenbauer, the man who discovered the bodies, was revealed to be a suspect with a motive. But what if this was just the tip of the iceberg? detectives discovered a cryptic letter in Schlittenbauer's possession, hinting at a deeper connection to the Gruber family. The letter revealed a long-standing feud between Schlittenbauer and Andreas Gruber, fueled by a disputed land deal. Could this be the motive behind the gruesome murders? Further investigation revealed that Schlittenbauer had been embezzling funds from the local community, and Andreas Gruber had discovered his scheme. Was Schlittenbauer's motive not just revenge but also to silence Gruber and his family? A former maid, Therese Zenzi Rieger, came forward with shocking testimony. She claimed to have seen Schlittenbauer arguing with Andreas Gruber just days before the murders. Rieger's testimony painted Schlittenbauer as a ruthless man capable of brutal acts. As detectives dug deeper, they uncovered a pattern of suspicious behavior by Schlittenbauer. He had been seen around the farmstead on multiple occasions, and witnesses reported strange noises coming from the property on the night of the murders. The police had a strong case against Schlittenbauer, but he maintained his innocence. The investigation was closing in on the truth, but one question remained: would justice be served, or would the killer slip away? Just as it seemed like Schlittenbauer was the prime suspect, a surprising twist emerged. A local resident came forward, claiming to have seen another person lurking around the farmstead on the night of the murders. The description didn't match Schlittenbauer. Was there more than one killer involved? As we left off in part 6, a surprising twist emerged. A local resident came forward, claiming to have seen another person lurking around the farmstead on the night of the murders. The description didn't match Schlittenbauer. Was there more than one killer involved? The witness, a farmer who lived nearby, described the person as tall, wearing dark clothing, and moving stealthily around the farm. This new information sent shockwaves through the investigation, forcing detectives to reconsider their theory. Detectives discovered a hidden room in the farm's attic, containing strange symbols etched into the walls. It seemed the killer might have been planning this for weeks, maybe even months. The symbols were unlike anything seen before, hinting at a deeper, more sinister motive. Experts analyzed the symbols, linking them to an ancient cult that practiced dark rituals. Could the murders be part of a twisted sacrifice? The possibility sent chills down the spines of investigators. Further investigation revealed that Andreas Gruber had been researching these cults, becoming increasingly obsessed with their practices. Had he stumbled upon something sinister, or was he part of it? The lines between victim and perpetrator began to blur. As detectives dug deeper, they found evidence of Andreas's growing paranoia. He believed someone was watching him, and his notes hinted at an impending doom. Was this a case of self-defense gone wrong, or something more complex? Just as it seemed the investigation was making progress, a surprising revelation turned everything on its head. Carl Gabriel, Victoria's husband, might not have died in World War I as presumed. Some witnesses claimed to have seen him around the time of the murders. If Carl had indeed survived the war, his motive for the murders could have been revenge against Andreas, whom he blamed for his family's troubles. The investigation now focused on finding any proof of Carl's survival, with new leads and theories emerging. The investigation continued, but one question remained: would they ever uncover the truth behind the Hinterkaifeck murders, or would the case remain forever shrouded in mystery? The Hinterkaifeck murders remain one of Germany's most baffling unsolved crimes. As new evidence comes to light, the truth might finally be within reach. But until then, the darkness of that fateful night continues to haunt us. Subscribe to True Crime Unseen now, else we will be gone. Thank you.